Hi there, my name is Adam. Today we're going to introduce edit mode to you in ACDSee Photo Studio 2019. And in order to illustrate the power of this mode, we'll be using Photo Studio Ultimate 2019. Edit mode is the fifth mode located at the top right of your screen. When you open up an image in edit mode, your default layout will show you these following elements. The picture preview, located in the center. The filter menu, located on the left. The main toolbar, located on the top left. The Filmstrip, located underneath the picture preview. The layer panel, located on the right. And the adjustment layers, located below the layer panel, with finally just the layer tools located below the adjustment layers. We'll be explaining each of these elements. The picture preview is your visual representation of your image and image adjustments. When you open up an image in ACDSee, the picture preview's ratio and dimensions will match that of your opened image. You can observe this by adding another image to your layer panel. I will select another image from my Filmstrip and drag it onto our layer panel. As you can see, this image is longer in height than our original image layer. It will have to be resized. To resize an image layer, select the layer and then navigate to the Move tool at the top of your main toolbar. Move allows you to place your object in a new location, like this. It also allows you to rotate your image or shrink it. Shrinking your image will maintain its aspect ratio. To override this, hold Shift. To commit your changes, hit Commit, or to discard them, click Discard. You can also zoom using the tools at the bottom right of the picture preview. Once zoomed, you can scrub through your image using the Hand tool. Scrub by clicking on the picture preview or on the zoom box. You can also return to 100% view. This button is on the bottom right of the picture preview panel. The filter menu provides a variety of comprehensive, semi-destructive changes. They're batched into a couple different sections. The first is Repair, Add, Geometry, Exposure and Lighting, Color, and finally, Detail. Let's have a look at the Light EQ filter, which is under Exposure and Lighting. Before we do so, I'm just going to go about duplicating my layer. I do this so that if I don't like my changes, I can simply delete my layer. This allows me to control the destructiveness of the filter edit. To duplicate a layer, click the layer button of the same name that appears in the layer tools. Filters will always be applied to the layer selected. So in this case, we're working off of the copy. I'll navigate to Light EQ. We are now within the tool menu for the Light EQ filter. You're going to notice a couple of things. The effect sliders, the brush and gradient tools, and the pixel targeting function. For example, if we wanted to adjust the midtones of this image above the water, I'd adjust the nib width and feathering like so, and paint on the area where I'd like this effect to be applied. Currently, I have Show Brushstrokes applied. I'm going to unclick this box and adjust the midtone slider. Pixel targeting allows me to select certain colors or tones. Let's increase the green and cyan bars to 100. You'll notice in our target mask that we're getting a preview of where the effect will be applied. Let's unclick the brush tool and just use this as a general application, opposed to a brushed on application. I like these changes, so I'm going to apply them by clicking Done. There are lots of other tools from within the filter menu. Play around with them. In a bit, we'll discuss how to use adjustment layers, the non-destructive version of the filter menu. Let's talk about the main toolbar. We've covered the first two tools on the bar. Those are the ones that we used to move our image. Next up on the list are a variety of ways to make selections. After that are the shape tools, the fill tools, which we'll talk about more during the layer panel section of this video. And the last two sections on the toolbar are a repetition of the filter menu so that you can collapse the one on the left and get a bit more edit room. And then finally, the set of action tools. We'll go over these individually. So let's start with the selection tools. Under selection tools are a brush selection tool, polygonal selection tool, square selection tool, circle selection tool, lasso selection tool, and finally, the magic wand. Brush selections are created by you painting on the area you would like to select. Before we illustrate this, I'd like to show you how you can display a selection. Navigate to Select and click the Overlay Options button. By default, your selection method should be marching ants. But you also have access to the selection highlighted, which replaces the marching ant outline with a color overlay, and the selection exposed, which does the reverse of the selection highlighted. My preference is the selection highlighted, with the highlight color set to a bright red. Looking at the brush settings that appear above the image preview, you'll notice a couple things. Strength, smart brushing options, tolerance, and nib settings. Lowering strength will affect the overall application of your selection, but not the selection itself. Smart brushing is a modal option that allows you to make selections based on color similarities, brightness similarities, or a combination of both. Tolerance can be lowered or increased to detect more minute differences between pixels. For example, you could have a tree with green and cyan. High tolerance would select both, where lower tolerances may be a bit more picky. Finally, nib settings allows you to change the width and feathering of your brush. The polygonal selection tool is a bit different in that it allows you to make custom hard angle selections. Simply click on your image and then move your cursor to another point, and then click again. Double-click at any point to finalize the selection. You'll notice that a couple icons have appeared at the top above the preview. The first button is default and allows you to make a new selection. Making another selection after the first will override the original. Add to selection, the second button, allows you to keep adding additional polygonal selections. Subtract from selection allows you to remove or cut elements of your selections. Lastly is the Selection Mask Preview button, which allows you to see the subtlety of your selection frame. The same functionality is true for the Square, Circle, and Lasso tools. They have the same functionality as the Polygonal Selection tool. Finally, the Magic Wand Selection tool allows you to pinpoint specific pixels in your image, and it will suggest selections based on that. I won't spend too much time with the shape tools, as they are quite simple. My workflow for shapes is to add an additional blank layer, which you can find underneath the adjustment layers, and then use something like the rectangle tool to add your shape. The shape tool also allows you to adjust the fill settings to that of your background and foreground color, and your overall opacity and blending settings before you place your shape. The fill tools are the next section within the main toolbar. Fill tools have two main functions. They can fill a layer with a specified color or gradient, or they can help you mask your image. We'll be going over both. I'm going to select layer 1 and then the brush tool. I'll also change my foreground color to orange by clicking on the color picker to the right of it. You can navigate to the custom panel to enter a hex code or specific value. With my orange selected, I'll simply paint over my image. This is a destructive change to my original layer. I recommend creating a blank layer if you want to preserve your original layer. I can change the nib width and feathering with the tool active. I can also fill an entire layer with a color or apply a gradient to a layer. Notably, I can also erase these color fills with the eraser. Be mindful of using the eraser on your original layer, as it will result in turning your image into a transparency. These tools change dramatically when you're operating on an active mask. Let's explore masks a bit before we show how brushes work within them. To mask a layer, simply select a layer and then navigate to the Layer Tools and Add a Layer Mask, appears fourth from the left. The mask is displayed as a little white box appearing to the right of your layer. A mask comes with a couple properties. You can adjust the opacity of your layer to merge the mask layer with the layer that appears beneath it in the layer panel. You can also use a blend mode to similar effect. Masks also have feathering options which dither the edges. You can also invert your mask. The mask preview, the box that appears to the right of your image layer, can be thought of as an on and off switch. White indicates that section of the image is on or being presented, and black indicates that section of the image is off or hidden. When you invert a mask, you switch those hidden presented values. If you make a mask entirely black, that layer will not be visible. If you make a mask entirely white, the reverse is true. Using the brush tool, you can select the mask preview and paint either black or white to adjust what you see. When you hide a portion of your mask, what will be displayed is the layer beneath it. Notably, if we apply a mask to the base layer and erase it, we will be presented with gray-white checkered boxes, indicating that we have made a portion of the base layer a transparency. You can remove a mask by clicking on the Delete Layer Mask button. Masks allow you to combine images to create compositions. There's more to masking, but we'll cover it in a bit more depth when we get to the Layer panel. Also within the menu toolbar is a collapsed version of the filter menu. This enables you to hide the left filter menu while still having access to the tools. Doing this grants a bit more space for your image preview. Finally, the last thing on the menu toolbar is the Actions section. With the toolbar covered, let's talk more about the Filmstrip. You can find the Filmstrip under the preview image in edit mode. Functionally, the Filmstrip allows you to quickly navigate to other images within your image folder. You can also use the Filmstrip to make composition images by clicking and dragging one image from the Filmstrip onto your layer panel, like this. Also within this area is the Show Saved button, which lets you quickly preview the original image. Lastly, the Preview Full Screen button allows you to view your image isolated. The Layer panel. The Layer panel is unique to ACDSee Photo Studio Ultimate. It allows you to create compositions by arranging images and adjustments. To add a new image layer, you can draw an image from the Filmstrip like we just mentioned, or you can click the Add a File as a Layer button that's underneath the adjustment layers. Layers stack, and their order matters, meaning that the layer that appears on the top will take visual priority over the layers that appear directly beneath it. In this case, we can see layer 2, our dock layer, blocks the view of our layer 1, the beach layer. This can be altered by moving layer 1 above layer 2, like this, or by hiding a layer. You can hide a layer by clicking the eye that appears to the left of the layer. There are two ways to blend layers. The first is by using the opacity slider. You can make a layer more transparent by sliding the bar down. Alternatively, you can use the blend modes to get a variety of visual effects. Screen, multiply, overlay, hard light, and soft light are some of my favorites. When you apply an adjustment layer, you'll notice that it will pop up on the layer panel. To move any layer, simply click and drag the layer above or below another in the layer panel. Adjustment layers have a couple of buttons. The first is a little diamond that appears next to the hide icon. The button clips the adjustment to the image that appears directly beneath it. Normally, adjustments affect all layers that appear beneath them, but when you clip an adjustment, it will only be applied to the layer that it is clipped to. In this example, we have two adjustment layers, one black and white and another vibrance. Both appear above their corresponding image layers. Black and white is applied to both images, while vibrance is applied to just the image that appears directly beneath it. If we apply clipping to the black and white image, well, you'll see. The next tool is the actual adjustment layer settings. If these settings aren't visible, it's likely that you've selected the mask to the right of the adjustment settings. When you click on the mask box itself, the mask properties appear. These are the same ones that we discussed earlier. As illustrated by the vibrance adjustment layer itself, adjustment layers come with mask boxes. If we were to add a black and white adjustment layer, we can paint on these masks to customize the area where the effect applies. Adjustment layers. Just quickly, the adjustment layers appear below the layer panel. They are non-destructive when you save your file as an ACDSee file, which means you can reopen your file at any point to adjust these values. The layer tools are the last segment we'll feature today. We've covered a few of these already. Layer tools can be found at the very base of the layer panel. The first button is Add a new file as a layer, which allows you to place image files on top of one another. The second is Add a blank layer, which allows you to fill that layer in custom. The third is Duplicate Layer, which makes a copy of the layer you've selected. This is useful with effects from the filter menu, as it allows you to keep the original file within the layer panel. The fourth is Delete Mask, which will delete any currently selected mask. The fifth is Delete Layer, which will delete the currently selected layer. Lastly, Merge Layer Down combines the visual information of two layers together, essentially collapsing multiple files into one. Thanks for watching this exhaustive tutorial of edit mode in ACDSee Photo Studio Ultimate 2019. Stay tuned for more tutorial videos and guides of ACDSee Photo Studio 2019. Click the link to learn more, and please like, comment, or subscribe.